Hi guys, Olive here today to do a tag video for you. I was tagged by Steve Donahue to do the Finished the Book tag. This was a tag that was created by Headless Books. I will link both Steve's video and the original video down in the description box below. Be sure to check those out, but let's get started on the questions. Question number 1 is, do you keep a list of books that you've read? I do, on Goodreads. While I do have some problems with Goodreads that I discussed in a video I did fairly recently, the core functionality of Goodreads, of being a place where you can keep track of books that you've read, books that you're currently reading, and books that you want to read, it's a great place to do that. When I made my Goodreads account back in 2013, I decided not to include all the books I've ever read. I have a good memory, but not good enough to remember every single book I read in my childhood and in my teenage years. And even the ones that I could remember reading, I decided not to include on Goodreads. Number 1, because I didn't want Goodreads to be recommending me children's books or YA books. And I wanted my Goodreads to be an account of all of my adult reading. And I am glad that I made that decision. So my read shelf on Goodreads is a list of a bunch of books that I've read, but not a list of all the books I've ever read. Question number 2 is, if you record stats, what stats do you record? I choose not to look at stats all that much, the exception being when Goodreads releases its end of the year book statistics. I do really like to look at those. I think to me, the most interesting of those is the average length of book that you've read over the course of that calendar year. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the length of books I read, so it's interesting to see about how long the average book I read was during the year. And then also for my own reasons, I like to calculate my fiction to nonfiction ratio. I sometimes talk about it on my channel, but I really just like to know those numbers for me because I would like the numbers to be as close to 50-50 as possible. I've not crunched those numbers yet for this year, but I'm thinking that this year is going to be nonfiction dominant, just thinking back over all the books I've read so far. And nonfiction November isn't even here yet, and I dedicate the entire month of November to nonfiction, so it might be skewed toward nonfiction this year. Question number 3, do you give a star rating to books? I do give star ratings to books, but I have to say that I have a love-hate relationship with the star rating system, specifically on Goodreads, especially since they refuse to add half stars. I'm salty. I've heard plenty of people argue against star ratings, and I think they have a lot of really great points. But I choose to continue to do it because I feel like it communicates my feelings toward a book at a glance. Now, of course, you could say that it's not communicating the same feeling to everyone, since those star rating systems mean something different to every person who uses them. And I would agree with you if you were to say that, but I do still see a value in rating books, so I continue to do it. I have a lot more feelings about this subject, but I'm going to save them for a future video. Question number 4 is, do you review books? I discuss just about every book that I read here on this channel. I sometimes talk about them in solo review videos, which are fairly rare here on this channel. Sometimes I'll do dual review videos where I talk about 2 books in one video, but most frequently I talk about the books that I read in my monthly wrap-up videos, which are my favorite types of videos to do. Monthly wrap-up videos I feel are best described as being a bunch of mini reviews all brought together by the fact that that person has read them all in 1 month. Question number 5 is, where do you put your finished books? Well, if it's a library book, then I return it like the good library patron that I am. But if it's a book that I own, what happens to it after I finish it depends entirely on whether or not I loved it enough to reread it. If I did love it enough to reread it, then it goes on my favorites middle shelf right here behind me. If I didn't like it or don't think I'll want to reread it in the future, then that book goes into a tote bag. And once I have 1 or 2 tote bags full of books that I'm looking to get rid of, I take them to my local used bookstore to be exchanged for credit. Question number 6 is, how do you pick your next book? Most of the time, I will pick a book off of the monthly TBR that I have created for myself the month prior. I am someone who really needs this structure. If I leave myself to my own devices, I will start 10 books and not finish any of them. I will say that I occasionally give myself permission to pick up something that's not on my TBR if I'm really, really excited about it, if it's a new release or something that a bunch of different people are talking about that I can't wait to pick up. But I do try to stick to my monthly TBRs. And the last question, question number 7, is, do you have any rituals for when you finished a book? First, I mark the book as finished on Goodreads. I will then give it a star rating, which I will give myself all the time I need to give it a star rating if I'm not feeling certain about what rating I want to give it. I then remove the bookmark and put it back with my bookmark collection up on my shelf there so it doesn't get lost. If the book is a hardback and came with a dust jacket, I will put the dust jacket back on. I do not understand how people can read a book with the dust jacket on. I have to take it off while I'm reading it. I then put the book on the top shelf of my little IKEA cart, which I have right over here, which is all my active booktube books. It will stay on the top shelf of my IKEA cart until I have discussed it on this channel. After I've done so, I will either return it to the library if it's a library book, or if I own the book, it will either be shelved or go into a tote bag. So those were all of my answers to the finished the book tag. I would like to tag 3 people. I would like to tag April at Getting Higa With It, Russell at Ink and Paper Blog, and Manicorn at The Bookish Land. Or if you are interested in doing this tag and I did not tag you, consider yourself tagged anyway. If you guys have any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general, you can feel free to put that in the comment section below. Or if you'd like to chat with me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media. The links to all my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.